Welcome to the Thepricklypairshow. I'm Ron Furman, and this is
Sean Feldman here once again.
Oh yeah, Sean.
You return.
Yeah, you did what? About 3 episodes with us already?
3 episodes.
That's amazing. We don't have Ellie with us, the usual co-host. There's a big reason for it. We want to wish Ellie and Terry Mazal Tov. They just had a baby girl. I don't know the name, so we just say I don't know the name or I can't say the name. We really don't know it. So wish you guys.
Do you even know the gender? Do you know the gender?
Female.
It is female.
Female, yeah. It's so he's got 2 boys, now a baby girl. It's gonna wrap you around your finger. That's gonna be one of those things. So we had a show today planned with John Haynes, who is Canada's addiction interventionist, and he deals with addictions. And unfortunately, he was unable to come, or maybe he's on his way. We really don't know what's happening, but the show must go on. We're still going live. So we decided to change things up a little bit, maybe still stick to things that are raw, not just, foo-foo and, some nice stuff. Let's talk about real interesting things. I'm actually going to change it around a little bit.
Okay.
Okay? Because we had a plan, but what we're going to do in case.
Okay.
But you brought something very interesting.
Yes, I did.
So why don't you tell us what you're doing today?
What I'm doing these days?
These days, you kind of mentioned something in the pre-production.
Yeah, I mentioned I was running a theater festival, co-running. It's called Inspirato, and it's an annual theater festival. It takes place at the Alumni Theater at Adelaide and Berkeley Street downtown. And so I'm going to give you a little rundown of how it works. It's a little bit unique. So it's a color-coded show.
Okay.
They do this every year, and it's they have, I think, 5 different colors, and each one corresponds to kind of like an anthology of 6 short 10-minute plays.
Okay.
And so each show lasts approximately an hour and a quarter, and each year there's a theme around each entire show.
Okay.
So this year it's called
Sweating again. It's driving me crazy.
It's all
Go
right.
ahead. I'm gonna
Okay,
keep
you
it
got
over
your
here.
towel.
Yeah, I got my towel. It's crazy under these lights. I don't know how people handle it. I certainly can't. Okay, go ahead.
Remind me of Pavarotti a little bit about
Oh,
the
my
giant
God.
hanky.
Well,
Giant blue
he
hanky.
sweats a lot too. I'm definitely a sweater. That's for sure.
And so this year the theme is all about her. So it's sort of like from a feminist perspective.
Okay.
But not radical feminist, kind of balanced,
Okay.
moderate. And so one of these plays is interesting, to say the least. The fact that I'm involved in it and I have to watch it about 8 times.
Okay.
It's called, I have to see if I remember the name. It's called High School Intifada.
High School Intifada. Sounds
Yes.
like something up our alley.
Yes,
Okay.
it would be. It's basically about, remember it's 10 minutes long, so it's about a girl, a Jewish, Israeli actually, pro-Palestinian student. She has Israeli parents, but she's born, it's supposed to take place in New Jersey. And she's at a school that is considered predominantly Jewish, as she says, 99.9% Jewish. And you ever heard of River Hill?
No.
Okay, well, I think it's supposed to be a particularly Jewish neighborhood in New Jersey. And so she gets called into the principal's office, brought up on bullying charges. Because apparently during school hours she wrote a tweet against this fellow Jewish pro-Israel student.
Okay.
Saying something to the extent of Melanie Cohen and her pro-Israel posse are out to get me again, F her. And so she starts getting an earful from the principal,
Right.
who himself is a Zionist,
Okay.
Jewish Zionist. And it's interesting, I think these roles are played actually by non-Jewish actors. But
Well, it makes sense. It's acting, right? So
it's acting, it
cares,
doesn't
right?
matter. And the girl looks Jewish, though I don't think she is.
Okay.
And so basically, it unfolds with the girl being, she's, from what I can gather, being put in the heroic position. She's the protagonist. So we're supposed to empathize and identify with her. And we're not really supposed to be taking the side of the principal.
Right.
And so the principal is throwing out all these, he's talking about how, and she has to bring up that she was approached after tweeting this by the other girl who calls her Hitler and says that, you know, you better watch your back, bitch. You know, she uses harsh language at her. And the principal says, well, there's no evidence of that, but there is evidence that you tweeted on school hours this kind of inflammatory comment, and you know, because of that, you know, we're going to have to take disciplinary measures.
But was it because of the tweet that was anti-Israel? And is that what they were alluding to? I'll tell you why. Because I know that if you're tweeting something that's negative, it's bullying today.
Right.
And I know I heard about a few stories. Actually, my cousin told me that his son wrote something on Facebook that he doesn't like somebody's little show, and then the parents called the principal, and he got in trouble because he said something negative. But it had nothing to do with anything. It wasn't like political or anything. That they were just little kids. So was it the pro-Israel aspect that was really the problem, or was it the fact that it was just a tweet that was in some way bullying?
Well, there's no actual closure, so we're meant to, I think, come to our own conclusions. I would say, I know who the playwright is.
Okay.
I'm not going to say his name, but
Right.
he's a Jewish playwright.
Okay.
He's actually a young kid.
Okay.
And these are all, most of these authors I don't think are that well known. They're more like kind of independent. And so he's a young guy, and he apparently won some, I think, award from Jewish writing.
Okay.
He has some credentials.
Does it matter to you that the person is Jewish, the person who wrote it?
It matters a little bit. It doesn't change my opinion or response in regards to the play itself, but it is nice to know. I mean, it's not nice, but I mean, it does give me a little bit of a different perspective, because it's not surprising though. I mean, if he's a liberal Jew, I mean, big surprise.
Okay, so let's kind of delve into it. How does it make you feel?
But I would like to tell you how it wraps up.
Oh, sure, yes. I apologize.
It
Go ahead.
kind of it might give you a little more insight. So, in the end, so midway, there was a point where he calls the principal calls the he calls the Palestinians terrorists.
Okay.
And that's supposed to be a huge turning point. It's near the end of the play, and it turns out it starts off with him telling her to turn her phone off. And she says that she did. Turns out the whole time she was taping the conversation, and she said, you know, it's a big twist. Okay, now I'm going to expose you on social media. I'm going to tweet this conversation. I'm going to post it, and everyone's going to realize what you know, the Palestinian hater you are. How she shouldn't say that. She actually says how a Jewish student who's pro-Palestinian is being persecuted in her school by her own principal for having pro-Palestinian beliefs.
Okay.
And that was and the principal actually ends up. This is a little bit, you know, sketchy for me. He ends up getting really freaked out. Not just that she taped it, but it seems like because he's now on record calling Palestinians terrorists, and he points out, well, they're stabbing people in the streets.
Right.
And that's the big problem right now.
Okay.
And she's like, oh, so that's what you choose to focus on, that Palestinians are stabbing people in the streets. What about this? What about that? You know, what about what the Israelis are doing? What about what about this? You know, the kid who was burned to death, or the kid who was burned to death, and the mother died later, and the people who were shot at the checkpoints by the Israeli soldiers, and blah blah blah, all that. And so she leaves, and her closing line is, I think the hashtag is going to be I stand with Rivi. That's her name. And she's like, yeah, I like the sound of that. And then she leaves. And it's supposed to get like the big cathartic closure, and the principal is all like, you know, freaked out, like, oh shit, now I'm going to be exposed as being anti-Palestinian.
So is that how it ended? That's
how it ended. Yeah.
Okay, that kind of sucks. That there's no positive end. That it kind of puts somebody without.
Positive in what respect?
Well, I did something similar to this. Funny enough, and by the way, this was not rehearsed or anything like that. It's real. I did a movie called No Politics, where I brought. Like,
I remember that.
I did like a Palestinian and an Israeli meeting on a college campus, and the conversation between them and how it began. It's 3 movies in one. It's a pretty interesting film, but I left even though I have a specific so-called agenda. I left the audience. I left it with peace. And I said, you know, at the end of the day, doesn't matter what side you're on, we all want peace. It's just it depends where it's coming from. Even though I even actually stated in the film itself, because they were talking to the writer, which is like myself, saying that it's written by a Jew, so clearly it has to be pro-Israel, and it's got no. It's a story for people to really find their answers as opposed for me to give them the answer.
Right.
So I always feel like as filmmakers, as writers, as directors, we have a responsibility to the audience. That person thought, hey, I'm just doing a play, but he doesn't understand that the audience that's coming out to watch this show are going to pick up other information. And for them, it's going to be like, oh, he's Jewish, who wrote it. So clearly there's something about it. And they'll make that connection, right? It's like, again, like we talked about before, like a black guy saying the N-word or a white guy saying the N-word. There's significance behind it, right? So the same thing here, where you have like a Jewish writer who's writing something against people, like, well, you see the Jewish person's writing it, but you turned it around and said, oh, a liberal mentality.
That's my perspective.
That's your perspective.
And by the way, I'm not sure if anybody really focuses on the author here because he's not there.
Uh-huh.
No one really announces his name. If you want to look it up, you'll
Right.
find his name.
Right.
And he is posted like on the website and there, but he's not.
Does he have a Jewy name? Like,
his name?
well, I will. Yes or no. I don't have to say the name. Does it sound Jewish?
To me, it's
Gotcha.
kind of Jewish.
Okay. Because that's
Not everybody would think so.
Right.
It's not like
So talk to me a little bit about your frustration, because clearly you work for this company. It's your job.
Yeah.
But you somewhat feel that participating in this is hurting you because you.
It's not really hurting me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I have some reservations about it, and I think it could be a little more fair and balanced, and not so overly obvious, one-sided. But it's his opinion, and mostly kind of liberal-oriented festival. What do you expect? Do you expect a pro-Israel play?
No,
by
neither.
a Palestinian or an Arab?
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see. I'd love to see the truth. I'd rather see really what's happening.
Keep open.
Yeah, that's the reality. But the reason I bring it up, and I thought it was interesting. There used to be there's the actor. I'm forgetting his name for some reason. The guy that he's in Harry Potter.
Alan Rickman.
Al Rickman. There you go. So Al Rickman. So when he directed a play called My Name is Rachel Corrie or something like that.
I don't remember the name, but I remember he got some flack for.
Yeah, I know the story about the Seattle girl who a bulldozer ran her over, and there was a whole thing. She was like an activist who went to Israel, and it happened, and they made a big deal out of it, and the play was going all over, and he directed this play, and I used to like him as an actor. I still do. Well, he died, so but I felt very disappointed.
Did you feel like betrayed a little bit?
I don't. What does he owe me? And I don't know. I don't even know his politics, right? It's nothing to do with it.
That's the thing. It's like when you like an actor and you like their work, you like their craft.
Right.
It's almost like, even though you shouldn't, you feel like kind of a kinship with them. You feel like a connection. It's like, oh, he's my guy. But then it's like, oh, I feel betrayed now because he's totally does not share my politics. He's not, he doesn't agree with me, and his views are. I don't know if it's so much about not agreeing with my politics, because I don't really care about people agreeing with my politics or not. But I see in the world, there's certain things, in my opinion, that are a little bit black and white. Of course, there's a shade of gray, but there's certain things that are a little bit black and white, especially when it comes to like the Middle East conflict, which is a good segment to get into the whole Messi situation. Yeah. Not Messi like as a Messi problem, but like Messi the player. Argentina was supposed to play Israel. I believe it was early last week. It was supposed to, on the 9th. I'm sorry. There was supposed to be a game on the 9th, Israel Argentina, and the game was canceled. Messi was getting a lot of threats. Like people said that they're going to kill him, they're going to burn his jerseys, they're not going to support him, and he fell to pressure. But rather than just falling to pressure, the quotes that I read were that he felt bad for the protesters. How could he play knowing that Palestinians are being killed by Israelis? Right.
And it baffled me because it's like, these are the people threatening your life, telling you that if you can't make your own choice. These are the same people that are threatening the lives of many people. And somehow we decide to take a side, cancel the game. By the way, it's sports. I don't think it should be canceled because you play the game. And second off, aren't you going to play in the World Cup? And you're going to face Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, who are, let's be honest with ourselves, they sponsor terrorism.
Right.
And you know exactly what's happening. I mean, if you pick up the newspaper or you watch TV, you know exactly what their opinions are, and you're okay to play with it. You're not canceling anything. You're going to shake hands, exchange shirts. So why is it that whenever it comes to...
What was this good? Just to inform myself and viewer, what were his comments again, just to clarify?
You know what? I don't have the quote on me right now, but I did post it on my Facebook, and the quote was something along the lines of like, I couldn't bear myself to play when I see that Palestinians are being hurt by Israelis.
Okay.
So it would almost be shameful if he plays. And
he wasn't speaking about a specific situation. Just
clearly, like Natalie Portman, probably talking about the protesters, the so-called protesters. And again, I'm going to play the game of the so-called protesters, because protester just goes and says, "Hey, I want equal rights," or whatever it is. Not, "I have a knife and a gun. I'm trying to kill the people on the other side." You want to protest, and you want I always ask, like, do people ask them what do they really want? Like, what do they want? What are they interested in? Do they want peace? Do they want to come into Israel and start their life? What is their intention? But not getting into the politics, again, I want to go back to the World Cup. I kind of lost respect for Messi. And
do you really think he sees Muslim countries the same way that he would see Israel as being terrorist?
I don't know. I don't know his politics, but like, again...
I would say no. If he's anti-Israel, chances are he's pro-Islam.
You're saying chances are, but you don't know.
It is pretty likely.
I don't know. I don't know if one coincides with the other. I'm just thinking to myself. By the way, are there people that are talking about this online at all? About the whole...
Not at the moment, but we do have Eli Miron, our usual host.
Okay.
He's tuned in. And
maybe ask Eli, since he's at home with his beautiful baby girl, what does he think about the whole Messi situation? Because in my opinion, I kind of lost respect for him. And to be quite honest, I was actually cheering for Argentina.
Okay.
And now I feel like, no, I don't want to cheer for Argentina, because what... And in a way, I'm doing the exact same thing. Yeah, because in a way, I'm just like, wow, he gave his opinion before, when the Islamists or whatever the supporters were telling him that they're going to kill him if he's going to go for the other side. It's different, it's different because they just said he's just going to play soccer. He didn't have a political statement about Israel, like, I love Israel and I hate the Palestinians. Mm-hmm. But here he clearly had something to say where he stands with the Palestinian people. Now look, I consider myself in some ways pro-Palestinian, but I'm pro-Palestinian a different way.
Okay.
I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying, but I'm pro-Palestinian because I'm pro-peace. I'm pro-Palestinian. I want Palestinians to have their own state. I want them to govern their own people. I want them to live in sovereignty. I want them to not have an army. I want them to be able to take care of themselves and be in relationship with the state of Israel.
You're pro-people.
I'm pro-people, but I want them to succeed. Not the pro-Palestinian where, I'm anti-Israel, because in my opinion, that's what it means. If you're pro-Palestinian, then you're anti-Jewish people or anti-Israel or whatnot. But I'm for them having it. But the fact is that Messi decided that he's not going to play is one thing, but another to have the statement, that made it worse for me. And at that moment in time, I said, you know what? I'm not going to burn his jersey. I'm not going to put out quotes and try to hurt him in any way. But I just feel I'm saddened. I'm saddened in this society that that the other side threatens us, and then we say, okay, you know what? I'm going to be with you because clearly I'm scared of you and I have to have an opinion.
You must be aware by now that not everybody who is anti-Israel because of supposed terrorist tactics are actually anti-terrorism. It's not a terrorism issue most of the time. It's just a anti-Israel stance.
But I don't understand it. I don't even know where it stemmed from. I can't, like, for the life of me, I can't understand.
I don't want to say anti-Semitism because it's an easy,
nobody did. No,
it's an easy term to throw out there. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it easy.
The producer and I, Shazad, we had a conversation prior to the shoot, and Shazad has a lot of Israeli friends. He's Pakistani and Indian together, just Pakistani. So he's Pakistani, and Pakistan is a Muslim country, and he grew up in North York, and we know each other for years. I know he hangs out with a lot of Israelis, but I wanted to just kind of have a conversation with him about society. And then we spoke about the situation in Israel, and I told him, look, if right now, during 1939, Jewish people were going around cutting people's heads off, burning people for not believing in Judaism, trying to have some sort of caliphate, right, where they're forcing people to practice. Like the other day, there were 8 people. I don't know if the other day or today. I just read it that 8 people were murdered in Greece for breaking Ramadan.
Okay.
So imagine if Jewish people were acting this way, in the 1930s, I don't know if anybody would have felt bad for the Jews after the Holocaust. I think that people would be like, look, they deserved it. Look what they did. Here, we clearly have people who are out to terrorize. Who the other day was Al-Quds Day, which is like the Jerusalem Day created by, I think it was the Iranians, the Khomeini in 1979 when they came into power. They declared it Al-Quds, which is Jerusalem Day. And there was a rally, and I saw Hezbollah flags, what people were chanting. They were associating IDF with ISIS and saying they're working together. It's like,
a lot of people are doing that.
No, but
saying that the
I don't even.
government is
I don't
funding
even.
ISIS.
It's the most ridiculous thing one can think of.
It's like 9/11 truthers. Even that's more likely than.
I don't know.
There's no funding
I
ISIS.
don't know, but it's completely ridiculous. Especially considering the people from ISIS are Islamists that were coming from other countries to go fight in Syria and Iraq. I just don't understand it. People live within that truth. People think this is exactly what's happening, and it's killing me inside. Today I taught a debate class, and the guy said to me, "Look, I'm trying to learn how to debate, and I have this guy who keeps saying that North Korea is this amazing place, but clearly everybody around us knows that it's not. How can I win the argument?" And I go, "You just don't talk to this person." Because, but Ron, it's I'm like, you just can't talk to these people. Like, there's nothing. What are you going to say? How are you going to change his mindset? He's clearly out there. His opinions are clearly ridiculous. Just let him be. Just let him be. That's all. And it's a part of. Sometimes you have to let go. A lot of us have trouble being on Facebook. Where we see a comment and all of a sudden there's a huge thread and we're answering, and I get people calling me or messaging me and saying, "Hey Ron, get in on this thread. Look what this person's saying." I'm like, you know what you're doing? You're highlighting this person. If you just left this person alone and let him have his opinion, or just call him an idiot without even discussing anything, you probably are going to get more people to back you up. But you're getting into this elongated conversations. And by the way, I'm responsible for a lot of those too. I had to learn my lesson. There were times where I would write scripts, like inside, back in the day, used to be like rooms where you would like write in.
Forums.
Forums. I don't do that anymore. I just don't deal with it. Sometimes I throw in something here and there. The other day I said something, but that's it. Now that it affects my day, and I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. He could have been yelling outside his window saying, "Kill the world," and kill anybody that I see. What am I going to do? Go to his house and tell him, "Stop saying that"?
Yeah, but that's a good question, because in terms of social media, is that something you should be ignoring, or should you be ignoring?
You should be smart about knowing what to ignore, what not to ignore.
But isn't social media about fomenting dialogue and conversation even with people you don't agree with?
If it's really a dialogue.
You think someone who has an opinion about North Korea that you think is completely out there isn't serious about creating actual dialogue?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to create dialogue. He's just trying to view it, just trying to voice his opinion about something. He's not creating dialogue.
But if he's voicing, so you think some people are posting, because the way I see Facebook posts or even tweets isn't, it's not someone saying, "I want people to get in on this conversation. I want to talk to people."
Mm-hmm.
But that's the implication. When you write something, you're not necessarily just venting most of the time. You're not just ranting to yourself. You're not talking to yourself.
No, of course they want you to get into the conversation at times, right? Or of course, I'm sure there is the want, right? But why are we giving this person the stage? That's the idea. Sometimes we should have to ignore it. Like when I used to teach how to be able to advocate, I used to tell people, if I'm right now talking to an anti-Israel person, and I'm bringing the pro-Israel conversation to the table, and it's just him and I, what am I gaining by having that conversation? Just getting pissed off? You think even if I give him fact by fact by fact by fact, you think he's going to go home and say, "You know what? I'm going to be pro-Israel"? There is no way. The only way that I would have that debate is if someone's listening. If there's an audience, someone can pick up, and I don't see the person. I know it sounds weird, but I don't see the person. I see a mirror, and I'm reflecting my thoughts towards the person that's listening. Because in reality, I stand for truth, at least I believe I do, and I don't try to shy away from it. But I don't have to go around and saying, here's my information world, have it. I'm having that debate because it's necessary. Now, if I feel this person has a lot of followers, then I want to be able to engage this person so they see this is the type of person you're following. But there are rules in terms of advocacy of who to talk to and who not to talk to.
So when you post something on Facebook,
do
you want a dissenter to respond to it?
Depends.
It depends on what?
Depends on what I'm saying.
Like if it's something political, and usually it is.
No, if I say
socio-political.
No, we just had leads us to the next segment. Good job. We talked about politics. Right. So we talked about like PC, and we talked about the Liberals and NDP and whatnot. And I put a picture of the PC, of who I'm voting for. I didn't want to debate. I didn't want to have a full-on conversation about it.
But you're going to get one.
No. But you asked me what I wanted.
I know.
I wanted to just say, hey, this is who I'm going for.
But you know at this point that it's not going to end there. You're going to get everybody.
No, I didn't, because it's literally my view. And if that same person that wrote something about had a picture of the Liberals or NDP on his wall, I wouldn't say anything. Good for him. It's none of my business. Let him have his say. But again, I know that the minute I put it out there, I'm open to conversation. I know that.
Let's be honest. You have a good 2,500 friends on Facebook.
Okay.
You're going to get responses whether you want them or not.
Yeah, but it wasn't a post. It was merely like a background picture, and that's all that it was. And I was just stating who I am voting for and who I like in this election. Right, but that's it.
That's enough.
But I'm not asking for that conversation.
I
see Shazad over there trying to talk to us. Yes,
I just want to rewind just a bit here.
Okay. We already moved to politics.
Talking about I didn't want to ruin your flow.
That's all right.
Talking about the cancellation of the Argentina-Israel friendly. To get specific about his quote, Messi is widely quoted as telling Argentinian sports channel TYC Sports, as a UNICEF ambassador, I cannot play against people who kill innocent Palestinian children. We had to cancel the game because we are humans before we are footballers. Now, there's even controversy with that because people from TYC's sports channel in Argentina are denying he ever even spoke to them. And he is, in his past, he's stayed straight away from controversial things. So it doesn't sort of fit his MO.
Right.
But there were other Argentinian players and people that spoke on behalf of the Argentinian football club that thought it was the right decision. So I just want to make sure that was clear with everybody.
What I want to know is there anybody speaking for the other side?
The pro-Israel.
Yeah. Like, is there somebody that's forget the pro-Israel. I don't like this idea of pro-Israel. Just talking about what is really going on. Forget pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian. He could have said, I support Palestinians, and would have been great. Support Palestinians, great. I'm happy for you. You support Saudi Arabia, fantastic. But why does it have to be that you have to find Israel at fault for murdering or mistreating the Palestinian people? Because you could have said Hamas, who is mistreating their own people, Al-Aqsa Brigade, Al-Qassam, he could Islamic Jihad. Talk about them.
He either doesn't see it that way, or he doesn't want to bring that to anyone's attention because he's focused on Israel.
Did you know something interesting happened in Brazil the other day?
No.
No? Great.
What?
Huge. I think it was, maybe I got the numbers wrong, so if somebody on Facebook can tell me if I'm getting numbers wrong. I think about 2 million people showed up to this huge event that happened in Brazil, a pro-Israel, a Jerusalem event.
Oh, that's changing.
And no one is even talking about it. It's not making any news. Like maybe some things on Facebook. Huge.
It would make news in the Jewish community.
But why?
Because
the Messi thing makes
it's fringe. It's not mainstream. Being pro-Palestinian is mainstream.
But that's the problem. Why? Why are we choosing a side? Not only that, a side, meaning like not me. Some people are going against the side that coincides with everything we believe here in the West. Everything that Israel stands for, the West stands for. Everything against is on the other side. Literally almost everything against on the other side. Freedom of choice, women's rights, gay rights. What do we have today in Israel? Today we had one of the largest gay parades in Israel. One of the largest ones in the world. Who's talking about it? I would love to see in Gaza a little party for one homosexual person, I don't know, his birthday, like outdoors. He'd be thrown from the tallest building.
By that account, who's talking about any of the good things going on in the West?
What do you mean, who's talking about good things? It's clear, because we're not complaining about stuff.
Oh, no, people complain about the West all the time.
What about the West?
All the shitty things going on in the West.
Like what? Food? Like the calories? What are they talking about?
Oppression against women, racism.
Oppression against women. Well,
I'm not saying it's happening. I'm saying this is what's brought up.
Right, but it's not like the government is oppressing women. It's not like the government, is against, the policies are not anti. Yes, there are people who are. I mean, there are rapists in America.
But no one bothers specifying because it's a Western thing.
Yeah, but it's internal. It's kind of like you can complain about your mom, in the house. Oh, she doesn't cook for me. She hasn't cooked for me in ages. Blah blah. These are internal. We're talking about policies.
But when people complain about Israel, they're not really just complaining about the government. They have a problem with the people too.
No, they don't know the people. They're not complaining about the people.
I think they assume that most Israelis support the country they live in.
But that's not how they're seeing it. They're seeing it as every person that is in Israel at some point or another went through the army, hence why he might be a murderer because he has blood on his hands for killing an innocent Palestinian child walking down the stairs in Gaza who've done nothing wrong. That's the play.
So Ellie here has chimed in with a few comments that I want to bring to your attention. He goes, Jewish people being good doesn't make news.
Right.
Before we get into that, first of all, I want your opinions why you think that is. And he also says, when it's not happening in your immediate backyard, you just don't care.
The Jewish comment is a matter of fact. It's kind of like, we know that there are more Jewish people winning Nobel Peace Prizes. When we're 1/4 of the world's population, and we have more Nobel Peace Prizes than any Muslim people around the world. When they have $1.5 billion. Something about it. It's almost like we don't have to talk about this. There are organizations such as Israel 21C that does talk about the positives. I just don't think they're doing a good enough job of advertising. I think because people like hatred. People, they see like a bloody face, and that's the story for them. They don't want to ask questions about it. That's what they're seeing, and that's the picture. And again, this Palestinian propaganda is 70 years old. The same game. Nothing has changed, and people are still on that side. What was the second part?
When it's not happening in your immediate backyard, you just don't care.
No, you care because people have opinions. People clearly have opinions. I went to York University, and when I went to York, there were mostly white people who were on the side of the Palestinians than they were on the side of the Jews. Now the reality is, we as Jews don't go out and spew things about Palestinians because we have better things to do, like go to the university and get an education. And I'm being real. People can call me out and say whatever it is that they want. If the Palestinian side stopped all the anti-Israel stuff, you're not going to have Hasbara. You're not going to have all these pro-Israel organizations. There's not a need for it. The reason that all these organizations came about, like Stand With Us, Hasbara Fellowships, Hakshama, ZOA, whatever other organizations that are out there, because after the Second Intifada, Jewish people felt they're not being protected on college campus. And I was there. I was in those schools. Being at York University, went through the Intifada, then the Iraq War, then the Apartheid week that they had, the wall with the blood and the flags and all the misinformation.
I was there in 2008 when it got really bad.
It was bad. There
was a particular time during the strike of 2008 where it got really serious, where violence was being threatened, and there was the mass protesting. There was a huge conflict between the Muslim organizations and Hillel, And I remember that whole...
No, but it was... I don't think 2008. I think actually that was before.
It may have been 07.
Yeah, there was a lot of problems, back in the day. We had an organization called Shalom Salam to try and bridge the gap and bring people in. I'll tell you an interesting story about my time at York. And so,
before we get into that, I just want to say a few comments from our viewers here. Melissa Gorlicki says, "Great job, keep it up." And Ellie has actually chimed in a bit more here. He goes, "Most people aren't interested in Jewish truths."
Why do we have to say Jewish truth? Why are people saying we're interested in truth? This is what bothers me. When did I become a Jewish speaker? Why am I not a speaker? Why am I not just somebody who is trying to show somebody what is right and what is wrong?
You want me to be perfectly honest about this?
Yeah, of course.
I don't even know what's truth anymore. I don't
what
even
do
know
you mean?
My truth. I don't even know when I say truth, I'm not talking about what I believe. I'm talking about what is objectively accurate.
No, but it's not the type of truth the way you're seeing it, the black and white. Let's talk about the two different ideologies.
Okay.
And I used to have this class that I used to teach, it's called ideology versus reality. Like what's really happening on the ground and the ideology behind it. How many people out there who support the Palestinian cause have read the Hamas charter? How many people have seen it? Of course not. But the Hamas charter, literally, they're so... they list the stuff about destroying the state of Israel, killing the Jews, taking over, like history tells us, that the three no's, right? No to peace, right? No to a resolution. I can't believe I'm forgetting. The point is, always Israel has gone as far as possible for peace. I mean, Egypt had the largest army in the Middle East back in the day, and Israel completely destroyed it. And the Egyptians really hated the state of Israel, and now we have peace with them. And on the other side, you have Jordan, and we made peace with them. What happened with the Palestinians? Because people are not understanding who they really are. It's tribes. They're run by terrorists. It's not the people that are in charge. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people are saying, Ron, if it was up for the people, they would want to go out and get a job and feed their family and all that. Bull. Because their education system still teaches them that we are evil. The worst, and I don't mean Jews, I mean the world. They're killing Christians in Egypt. Kurdish people are dying right in Turkey. Like, it's nothing to do just with how would the Ismailis feel. How about Baha'i people? The Muslims are killing each other, whether you're Sunni or Shiite. This is much, much bigger. But anytime there's a situation, it's almost the Jew is that word that we point the finger, we go, oh, there you go, the Jew. And the world sits there and go, yeah, that's right, I didn't think about the Jew. Yeah, right.
But here, you won't see very many people admitting that it's the Jew. They'll say, no, it's not a Jewish
Just
thing.
because I don't admit to it doesn't mean that it's not it.
Well, so would you say that the majority of people who are anti-Zionist are actually anti-Semitic?
I think it's the same thing. Okay. And I think they're self-hating Jews. And I think there are self-hating Jews. I think there's a lot of them. I could name like speakers who go out. Norman Finkelstein. One of my very good friends, Zohar Ram, who also happened to be on the show once. We talk about Noam Chomsky on a regular basis. And look, I'm not going to take anything away from Noam Chomsky, the linguistic. And when he talks about economy, but when he talks about the Middle East conflict, he's a liar. And then it makes me question the other stuff about him. But and we disagree. Now, I'm not going to say that Noam Chomsky is an idiot. I'm going to say he's a very smart man, very well respected. But so what? What if I'm respected as an athlete, but I beat my wife? You know what I mean? It's like
why do people keep going to Chomsky as a reliable political source?
Because he's a Jew.
That's why.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing to him being
no, he's got the Jewish flag. No, same thing. Why do you think people bring Ilan Pape and, as I said, Norman Finkelstein? Because they're Jewish. Same thing I asked you at the beginning of the show. It's the fact that it doesn't make a difference whether the writer is a Jew or not.
Right. And I want to. Oh, sorry. Can I just?
Just
want to
jump in before we jump on to something else. A couple of comments. Ellie again says, "Truth is in the eye of the beholder." Simona Soffer says, "It's a Jewish truth because it's a Jewish problem, and being somebody of the Jewish faith makes it a Jewish truth."
No.
And she also goes on to say...
But Simone, let me answer that. No. I'm going to start with no. That is complete horse manure. Absolutely not. Because it's not Jewish truth. The Holocaust happened. Am I going to say that's a Jewish truth? Am I going to deny it? Reality, certain things happen. Forget Israel. Forget Israel in this conflict. Let's take the Jewish people out of it. Okay?
She also like.
Wait. I want to talk. You can bring that up.
I just want to bring one more thing before you get into that.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
She brings up another point where she says you can't have an opinion without it being a Jewish opinion.
No. Again, no. Absolutely not. I'm not speaking about the Holocaust. Okay.
You need to clarify that because I'm not sure exactly what she means by Jewish opinion.
No. It's coming from a Jew. It's a Jewish perspective.
That's obvious.
But it's got nothing to do with it.
Okay.
And we have to stop thinking about it as a Jewish opinion. And it's not an opinion. Certain things are just fact. Fact. May 14th, 1948, Israel became a country. There are people who will say, I don't recognize it. Sorry. You not recognizing it is not saying it's not a fact. How many people are saying, even I saw it today, Doug Ford is not my premier. You could say whatever you want. That's your stupid opinion. You could say, you don't have to believe, you don't have to support him. You don't have to agree, but he clearly won a majority. Fact.
The Democrats in the U.S. say that every time. Like when Bush won, Bush is not my president. Trump won, Trump doesn't represent me.
No, that's a different story. That's an opinion. That's an opinion. Doesn't represent me. There are certain things that are clear. So let me get back to my point. Forget Jews. Forget Israel. Let's talk about the Arabs. Let's talk about the Palestinian Arabs. Let's talk about the Middle East. Is there? Give me a country where there's no actual civil problems within the country in the Middle East.
No.
Almost all of them have, from Yemen to Saudi Arabia to Iran to Lebanon. Syria. How many millions have died? Why? And nobody wants to deal with this. But a Palestinian falls down the stairs, and IDF happened to be a few kilometers away. Let's make the connection. I want the truth. The truth is reported as it is. As I said, even the protesters. Has anybody asked what they're there to protest? Why they're there? Why they come to the border? Why would somebody bring kids into a place like this where they're burning tires? A baby died, right? A baby died from they were burning tires, and Israel put fans so the smoke doesn't go towards Israel, so it goes back on them. Literally, they brought out fans. And they're, these evil Israelis. And it's like, well, what do you want to do? Bring tanks and shoot people? Like right there and then? No, they're trying to go with what they have. So they brought fans. And that baby died. But that's the message. A baby died. The IDF used fans to kill this poor baby. Don't get me wrong, I'm a human being. Of course I don't want that baby to die. But I blame that parent. I blame their society. I blame their upbringing. Talk about peace. Show me something in your education system where you want to work together with us. Everything is coming from our side. Everything is being pushed by our side. Even SodaStream. Right, there was a big uproar about SodaStream. And right now SodaStream is trying to bring it back. That employed so many Palestinian Arabs, giving them jobs. And what does SodaStream have to do anything with the conflict? They make a product that we're all using. So what? We use phones that have Israeli stuff in it. Almost everything. Because why? Because Israelis are in the 21st century. They're trying to move forward beyond the conflict. This is why we're succeeding. Because we're not sitting there focusing on just the Holocaust. We remember the Holocaust, but we don't have a survivor mentality. We just sit there and remember. We say, never forget, never again, but we move forward. See, like we could have easily gone and burned coffee houses and buses, German buses. People wouldn't have felt bad for us because it would have been like, yeah, sure. I mean, they just killed 6 million of you people. Go and kill. But when we're talking about the other side,
well,
that's all they're doing.
Most of them didn't stay there. They left.
Forget it. Right now, Berlin is the Jerusalem. It's the new Jerusalem.
Yeah.
There are more Jews, I think, living in Berlin than all of Europe. I could be wrong, but I know the numbers are really, really high. Or people are moving to Germany. Europeans are now complaining about that Europe is lost. That they no longer feel free in their own country. But yet the anti-Semitism overtakes that. The foreign minister of Sweden, they have problems, but she just went out and said, we're for you, the Palestinians, and we're in full support. Why? What are you doing? You're shooting yourself in the foot. But in reality, I don't care about Europe.
Yeah.
I don't even care to visit Europe anymore. They're lost. They replaced. They took it's like, what was it? I think it was the Morocco when they kicked the Jewish people out. People don't want to talk about the Jewish refugees that left all the Arab countries, left meaning kicked out. What we want to do is discuss the Palestinian refugees that were the Arab refugees within the state of Israel that are still kept in the same place where they were kept before. They said, oh, Morocco was a superior country back in the day because the Jewish people were offering things. The economy was much better. They literally opened doors and said, please come back. Jewish people were like, forget it, we're not coming back because we know what's going to happen. We'll do really well for 10 years. Then anti-Semitism is going to rise again and you'll try and kill us again. And if you look at Moroccans or you meet them, I grew up in a Moroccan family even though I'm Russian, long story. They spoke Arabic in the house. They had Arab culture. The food was very Arabic. To me, the only difference is they were Arab Jews. You know, now they may take it as something wrong. I'm not meaning it in a bad way. I love Moroccans and all that, but we have to be honest with ourselves. They live within Arab culture. There is something fundamentally wrong with the way we see things, and you know, and Simona, what you're saying. And by the way, first off, thank you for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. But you're doing us a disservice by focusing on the Jewish part, because it's got nothing to do with it. I could talk to you about Napoleon, and I could talk to you about philosophers of back in the day without bringing any religion into it. Somehow that's a fact. But when we're talking about anything Jewish related, it's like, oh, but a Jew is talking about it. No, it can't be. What is fact and what isn't fact? And by the way, there are many Jews out there that do support the state of Israel because they are based on fact and because they are looking at it. The only problem is their voice is quieter.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that. You kept using the pronoun we. Now, you're speaking we as though it's...
At what point did I use we? Because I use we all the time.
I know, you're saying we in terms of we don't focus on, or we choose to focus on Israel. It's not the whole world. It's a liberal leftist mentality. There's plenty of, as you just said, there's plenty of Jews and non-Jews who do.
Okay, how about this? The sound bites that we get.
It's the sound bites that you're focusing.
I'm not focusing on it. I'm not just focusing on it.
I think it's probably because the liberal media is just a little bit more mainstream than the right wing, and I think in that respect, it's like I said, it's concentrated.
But in some ways, I'm liberal. See, that's the thing. Like
But you're not liberal in that respect.
No, but that's insanity. That's not seeing. That's like literally looking at the fridge and calling it a stove. That's really what it is, and trying to convince somebody that it's a stove.
I see this mentality as an anti-Western mentality. This is the same logic that is constantly every day applied to Western countries, especially the white, straight, Christian male population, where they get blamed for doing things that aren't even happening. Slavery that doesn't exist anymore. Oppression of women that isn't going on anymore, for the most part.
Right.
All these capitalism that's destroying things that aren't actually being destroyed. There's more jobs being created here than any place else. That's why people are coming here. They're not staying in their third world whatevers.
Yeah.
Their third world closets.
You don't have to say dump, but yeah.
I don't have to say dump.
That's what he called it, right? They call it dump. He's right. I mean, whatever. You can say whatever you want.
What, Trump?
Yeah. Say whatever you want. I mean,
He didn't use dump, but
I think he did. I think he used something like...
I think it was a little more extreme than that. But...
Oh, more extreme. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, still meaning along those lines.
I forget the quote exactly, but it was along those terms.
So let's
people don't the majority of liberals are focused on dumping on Western values and mentality,
but it's
while
different.
they benefit from
I agree.
and they're benefiting from Israel, and the Palestinians and everybody else in Middle Eastern society is benefiting from Israel's existence.
But why is this a right and left issue? Why can't it be like, this is what's going on? Why do you have to be on one side or the other? You know, when I deal with my friends, as a joke, they call me a lefty. Literally, that's like the nickname for me. They call me a lefty. And I take it because I'm like, whatever, it's their opinion, because their opinions are a little bit more radical than mine. But I try to look at things as what they are, and I do the investigation on both sides. If you were to take my phone, and Shazad, I mean, you have the option to, you'll see that I have JPost and Al Jazeera as my two apps for news, and CNN. Actually, I don't have Fox News because I get Fox other places, but whatever. I have Al Jazeera, CNN, and JPost.
Do you find CNN reliable at all?
At times, sure, depending on what. Look, at the end of the day, they're there to sell stories.
Right.
And when I read even JPost, I do the same thing. I'm like, what are they trying to really say here? That's on me. That's on my education, right? Like people that go out to vote. I mean, everybody has an opinion to vote, but I think that I have a little bit more information than the other guy, or this guy has more information than me.
But aside from their factual reporting, do you find their editorials and commentary?
Look, there are certain people that work for CNN that the minute I see their face, I just lose it. Then there's certain people that I fully respect. I think it's unfair to color everyone under one brush, or I don't know, I forget to say, but I don't see it as that. But and I actually do. I prefer personally, and maybe we'll offend, I prefer CNN over Fox News personally, because I feel like Fox News is always trying to tell us, you see what the other guys are doing, and when I watch CNN, I was like, they don't even care about Fox News. They kind of just like, whatever, we're doing our own thing now. But it's on me to really know what the story is. Yes, when it comes to Israel, of course, I have more information than probably that reporter who comes down, to do a little report and leaves, even though I haven't lived there in 30 years. But I'm very well connected with what's going on, and I'm very well aware, and this is why I feel like I have an opinion. This is why I feel I'm an important person in society to be able to voice my opinion, and I do it through my films, through my articles, through whatever it is that I do. But I don't, even if somebody presented something from complete extreme, like for example, for me, I have a hard time watching or reading anything from the BBC, because I feel I could sense the intention trying to be pro one side, anti the other, as opposed to reporting the news. Let's get into politics, Canadian politics. We kind of started something, so now we know we have, PC. They just won. A lot of people on my Facebook love it. A lot of people hate it and think it's the worst thing ever. And to be quite honest, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I really don't. I know we needed a change, and it was clear because the Liberals no longer have a party. NDP got a lot of votes. I expected them to. I thought actually the truth is they were going to get a lot more. But PC won, and I think the focus is not to be against one another, and that's what I noticed. That every time we post something where we deliver our messages regarding a side, it's always like, oh, you have the wrong side, I have the right side. Look, at the end of the day, we want Canada to succeed. We want Ontario to succeed. I want to have all the things that you want to have. I just feel like the way it's been done now, it's not correct. I feel.
Are you specifically talking about Trudeau?
No. I'm talking about actually Ontario. Talking about Ontario. Okay. Well, Trudeau, I can give you a lot of other opinions, but we're going to talk about that during the next election. In my opinion, he's saying goodbye also. Okay. My problem was the gap. I felt that the middle class was broken. I felt that now you had this like high class, and like low class, like it was, and I feel like I'm the middle class, and I was like, no one's worried about me. The ones who are making a lot of money, they can afford all these taxes, to pay the taxes, to pay all these, ridiculous things because they have the money. And the ones who are struggling are getting so much help. Their help is like they're living in some ways better than I'm living. Because I'm spending about $3,000 just to live. How much money am I actually making? Mm-hmm. I'm getting no support. So the only other way is either be really rich, which I'm hoping to, or ask for financial help. And I don't want to be that person. A lot of people are dependent on that. Now, again, it's such a sensitive subject because I've never been really poor. I've never lived with food stamps. Like my parents. My dad's an engineer, my mom's a nurse, they did well for themselves, but now I'm an adult, I'm 40 years old, and I can't afford to buy a house. I can't afford to buy an apartment. I can barely afford to live. Oh, but look at you, Ron, you have a studio and all that. Yeah, I work hard for this stuff. I run around, I pitch myself, I tutor, I have 4 jobs. I make sure that I do the things, but in reality, I have 4 jobs just to be able to survive.
But is this because of your specific situation?
No. So that's the thing. I just see the people around me, and I'm like, clearly everyone's paying the same money for gas. Right? Like on average, people are paying about $70 for gas. $70 for gas. So if you go to work every day and you're just driving around and picking up your kids or whatnot, you're spending about $70 a week just on gas. What about insurance? What about the taxes? What about everything else that went up? Right? Inflation. I spoke about this last week with regards to the $14 an hour. I have a job that would pay me $15 an hour for the little things that I do, even though it's a lot of work. But now I want 19 for that because people were getting 11, and that's why I was okay with the 15. But now they're getting more money. I want more money because otherwise, why do I need to do this? I'll go do that easy job. There's no motivation. There needs to be more motivation, in my opinion. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm right about the PC. What you guys need to understand is that when it comes to like internal politics, I don't like to get too involved. Not that I don't care, not that I don't know enough. It's just that I voted Liberal before. I voted Liberal more times than I voted Conservative.
Do you blame Wynne for this?
I blame the administration that was just there. Yes, okay. But I don't blame. I mean blame. I'm sure a lot of things went into it as to why it failed. I mean, clearly she wanted out, right? I mean, she lost it for her party, but I think that they just gave up on the people, and I think their intentions were right. And by the way, I'm going to say this about most liberals. I think their intentions are very much right. They have the right intentions. They want to help the people. They see things that are bad and they want to do good. The problem is they're choosing who is bad based on what they're seeing, as opposed to having the full information about who is bad, or not even going by who's bad. We don't always have to pick who's bad and who's good and who's bad. Anybody else writing anything? No. Okay, fantastic. I just didn't want to.
We had Ellie saying CNN is fake news, but Fox News is totally made up nonsense.
Well, it's all. I mean, that's the thing. It's storytelling. Another thing.
But like, I have a comment here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Isn't there some kind of moral standard that news agencies should hold? Like, obviously, you can say, oh, you know, what point of view are they coming? But for most people, they'll read an article, whether it's CNN, Fox, Toronto Star, The Sun, whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll believe it.
Yeah.
Right? Without thinking twice.
Right.
And
but
so...
Who should be in charge of creating that standard and enforcing it?
That's a good question.
What is that standard?
But should there be one?
It can't just be about the story.
That's what you mean by standard.
It can't just be about the story. Like, they have to give the full picture, and that's the problem. They're not giving the full picture to the story.
I think they are giving the full picture. They're just focusing more on certain aspects that they find to be either more interesting, more pertinent to their platform, and more. It's about promotion. It's what side do you want to promote more.
But that's the thing. But
and everything is agenda based, so you can't be entirely.
My dad grew up in Russia, and the former USSR. So I'm not going to call it Russia. So he grew up in the former USSR, where they used to have a paper called Pravda. Pravda means the truth. But people knew there was, the government, was releasing that paper, and they knew it was horse manure. But we have higher standards, and we have these expectations from our reporters to really deliver the truth. But not just the truth as how they see it, but like we don't do investigations anymore. That's really what it comes down to. We don't do investigations. We kind of just report on what we see. But you turn the camera around, you're seeing a different picture. See, right now, here we are in front of a fireplace and looking at you, and behind me is a big mess with Shazad and drinks everywhere and lights.
It's very ugly.
Same room, different perspective.
Sorry.
Right? But the same thing happens, in my opinion, when it comes to certain conflicts. I'm not just talking about the Middle East, but let's focus on. I'll give you one tidbit of story. I don't remember the year. I'm going to pretend that it was 2002 or 2003 because it was around then, and there was a little boy with Down syndrome who basically they told that Hamas put bombs around him and told him to go and blow himself up at the border. So clearly they saw him as, he has Down syndrome. We would have killed him anyways. He's not going to survive. So send him. He's nothing. Well, we're a society that helps people like this and tries when their people die, we take them in.
Allah makes mistakes sometimes.
Sorry?
Allah makes mistakes sometimes.
Stop. Anyways, so the boy had Down syndrome, and they sent him off. And the news reporter, and people can look this up, and you can bring it up if you want in the next conversation. And they reported, it's like, oh, this poor boy, and look what the Israelis are doing, and they stripped him down. They stripped down his clothes in order to be able to cut the belt off. They're humiliating this poor boy and that's the story you're getting, and you almost feel bad. It's like, unbelievable, those Zionist soldiers, look what they're doing to humiliate this boy. Meanwhile, Hamas sent this person to die, to go kill innocent people.
Did people know he was strapped with bombs?
Yeah, when they took off his clothes, they saw it, but still the way they pitched it was like unbelievable. I can't believe the Israelis did this, and it drove me insane.
Well, if you let me get back to my play for a second,
yeah.
it ties back into that because one of the final lines is, the Palestinians are stabbing people on the streets. Well, they're heroes because of that.
That's awful.
That makes them heroic, as opposed to,
that's awful.
They're oppressed and they're defending themselves against the soldiers who are attacking them. If you want to use that, use that story, if you want to bring some kind of evidence to prove that, and you can't really, but even if you wanted to, they're attacking citizens who have nothing to do with it. And that makes them heroic, because who the hell cares? They're Israelis. They all deserve it. They're all in cahoots with each other. Do whatever you want. You're oppressed. Go and kill. It's fine. You're making a point, so good for you. You're freedom fighters. So that counts.
It's funny. When we were in school together, we weren't in the same program, but we kind of used to see each other in the hall.
Our programs actually overlapped.
Did they?
TV overlapped with journalism, so I don't think you helped with our program.
No, I don't think I did. Yeah. So what ended up happening was I did this this show for school called Mr. Muhammad's Neighborhood. Okay. And Mr. Muhammad's Neighborhood was supposed to be about a Palestinian guy who has like a television show for kids, and kind of teaching them, A is for Allah, B is for Abam, D is for Caliphate, D is for Dam, right? Like we had some fun with it, like there were some, remember at the end of every show, there was like, sit, boo boo, sit, good dog, woof,
yeah,
right? Remember that? Right, so I would have like good, so there's a Jew with like, or an IDF soldier with like a bandana around his eye, and he's just sitting there bleeding, and it says something like, good Jew, and then they blow up. But the whole idea was I wanted to introduce something to the Western world about things that are actually going on in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. There were characters like Farfour, which was a butterfly. Farfour means butterfly, and it was this Mickey Mouse character. They literally used the Mickey Mouse character to teach kids. And they had the bumblebee. I remember the name of the bumblebee. And then they had, and actually the bumblebee, the IDF soldier killed Mickey Mouse. So now we have to go out and kill. Like, this is what children are learning in school, and they have that on television. Mm-hmm. This is a reality. And I got in trouble for writing it. And by the way, I had jokes against Jews, jokes against Arabs, I had like literally this whole thing. I just wanted to show like, yes, this is comical, but at the same time, there is a tad of reality in it. And the school was very much, I remember I had a meeting with the dean, and they considered like kicking me out for having that script. And the funny part is that the class voted on my script. And they said, this is the best script, we want to have it produced. Please have it. And we started shooting it.
And what was his objection specifically? That it was anti-Palestinian?
So that's the thing. So I at the time, South Park was very popular. I know that still today, but back in the day it was really, really popular. I said, South Park is doing the exact same thing. What am I doing that's different? Like I literally make fun of Jews and Muslims. Like look at the show. Like, yeah, but if you really want this to go out, it has to be making fun of everybody. And I was like, really? That's what it comes down to? I think there's something more to it. I think that they didn't want to trigger anything. They didn't want to be a part of any controversy. Right. But I do believe that if it was on the other side, personally,
they would have been okay with that.
I'm giving you my opinion on it. Do I know that to be right? No. Because
anti-Jewish or anti-Israel?
Anti-Israel.
Okay.
I do believe that.
Yeah.
You remember we used to have the meditation room?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, so the Arabs the meditation room it's called the interfaith room. So it was for Jewish people, for Muslims, for Christians, for anybody to come in.
They have one at York, don't they?
Well, yeah, but they had one specifically at Seneca that I remember going to, and they put carpets all over the room. There was not a spot without a carpet.
Right.
And they made sure to tell you that you can't have your shoes inside, because you're on carpet. And I said, well, in order for me to put on tefillin, I actually need to be wearing shoes. And like, no, you're breaking the rules.
Can't you wear socks with tefillin?
Forget it.
Okay.
Let's pretend you can wear socks. Let's whatever.
Okay.
The idea was that this was taken by them. This was now their room. I had to follow the other side's rules about a room that needed to be shared by everybody.
Right.
And I felt like now I respected it clearly. I didn't make a big deal out of it. That's not my, I didn't make a big deal. But in my mind, I was like, this is everybody's room. Why do I need to obey by your rules? But that's what happened. Right away, hey man, you gotta take off your shoes, you know. And I noticed, I was like, and I actually asked, I was like, can we have a little section without carpet? Like, no, we have a lot more people than you guys. This was the explanation I got. That they have more Muslims coming into the room than Jewish people coming into the room, so they need the entire floor space.
Was that accurate with it? Probably.
I don't know. Again, I didn't want to get into the conflict, but this.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were.
But it's slowly becoming that, and that scares me, especially with all these opinions that are out there, especially with people like Simona who thinks that, oh, it's the Jewish people talking about Jewish problems and we're the only ones that can. No, it is not. It is two different ideologies that are fighting against each other, and what I'm noticing every day is that the other ideology is winning. And the funny part is they're the ones that are threatening the world and want everybody to be like them. Everything we stand against, literally everything we stand against, is coming from the other side, and somehow we're being blamed for it. We, the Jewish people, the Zionists, call it whatever it is you want. And I'm fed up with this, and this is why I do what I do, and this is why I advocate, and this is the reason that I make my movies and I write my articles. Not because I love it so much, because I don't want to be in conflict, it's because it's needed.
And I'm calloused at this point.
I know we're almost running out of time. We're kind of going a little bit over. Let's give it a little bit more. We'll talk for maybe like 5 to 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Tell me something interesting that you're doing today aside from the theater show. Is there something else that you're up to?
Well, I don't know if you consider it up to. I'm trying to get more back into freelance writing.
Okay.
And if you want me to specify,
I want you to talk to me. Yeah.
Okay. I did write an article.
Okay.
For in regards to the mental health awareness event that Ron hosted recently.
By the way, beautifully written article, and I'm not just saying it because he's here. I tell the truth in the way I see it, I guess, as a Jew. But I actually read the article, and it was phenomenal. It was such a well-written article. I hope somebody picks it up, not because it talked about us, it's because the way you deliver the message about mental health, and you're struggling with something, right? I mean, most of us are. We all have our issues, and there was a point where you talked a little bit about your personal. You didn't go into depth about it, but you talked a little bit about personal.
Right.
And the fact that people who are going to be reading the article really feel like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should go out and check out sound therapy. I should go out and seek what yoga is or Reiki is or whatever other modalities that are out there. And I felt that it was a very, very powerful article, and I commend you for it. My question to you is, why aren't you really pursuing writing? How come you're not, what's stopping you from, because you write really well.
Thank you.
What is stopping you from going the distance?
It's a combination of factors. I mean, right now, I mean, it's, as I told you, it's difficult for, especially these days, for a freelance writer to get their foot in the door. Mm-hmm. And I did actually recently apply for a job somewhere.
Okay.
And I didn't get it. I didn't get a call back. So I'm not going to say that was, spirit crushing. It's a little bit disappointing.
Right.
Because it was a place I had worked at before.
Mm-hmm.
And I had produced quite a few articles for them. And but aside from that, it's just, in general, I was aware that it's a difficult thing to pursue, especially if you aren't someone who's really regularly self-motivated. Because I know in order to be, especially a professional writer, you have to be constantly, churning out content. You have to be constantly submitting, making connections, making contacts,
right,
on the phone, chasing after people. As you know, probably it's not my personality. It's
right,
not my nature to do that. I'm a little more laissez-faire, a little more passive.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's something I would like to do, but I really have to chase after myself and, be motivated to the point where I'm going to have to be telling myself every day, I have to do this. So even when you get a rejection or you get ignored, you know, go out to another event, go interview someone else,
Right.
go, you know, review something or write a, you know, a personal essay and get it out there again and see what happens. You know, just don't stop, just keep going, keep going.
So you know this.
I know this.
You know this. So the reason I brought it up is over this week I did Make Your Mark, which is kind of like, I used to do like the forum, the Landmark Forum, and I did one of those, you know, Make Your Mark, and it was like a 3-day event. And the event was all about like, what are you waiting for? Mm-hmm. You know what it takes for you to succeed. Make it happen. You're not happy where you are, where like, see, that's the thing. I know you for a long time. I used to read a lot of your stuff, but like, you know, lately I read that article. And again, not just because it was about this topic. Once people read it, you'll understand. You wrote beautifully. Like, it was a nice piece of work. And I'm like, God damn it, why isn't this guy pushing himself more? So what I learned over this weekend is, you know, sometimes we need this motivation. We need this, we need these weekends. We need people to go, get off your ass and go make something of yourself. And to be quite honest, I think you really need a kick in the butt. And that is why I wanted you to co-host with me today.
Right. Well, it also...
No. Forget Elan, and forget that Ellie wasn't coming. It had to do... I wanted you to be here because I wanted to, in some ways, call you out.
Okay.
And say, hey, don't waste your time. You can do so much with yourself. Stop giving excuses and saying, this is who I am, this is my nature, this is just this person, because it's not serving you.
Right.
And you told me about your dreams of like leaving the house and, you know, starting a new life for yourself. You're, you know, in your mid-30s, almost 40. The time is now. So yes, I'm doing the same thing for myself. A part of the fact that I'm doing the show is because of that push. You think I really want to come here Sunday nights after I have such a long day on Sunday? I teach at 2 places. Then I come here, putting everything together. That's why I'm sweating all the time, because every time somebody needs something and I'm the person in charge. But I know that, you know what, I have to, and by the way, I'm embarrassed of myself sweating on camera. I know that it's live. I know the stuff that I'm saying, you know, may not make everybody happy, and, you know, I may lose people, but I'm still true to myself. And I know the ultimate goal of making a difference. And this is why I have the show. This is why I decided to do it. To leave a mark, to leave something behind. And when I see you, I just feel like you have so much to offer. And I'm not here to just compliment you, but I want you to be held accountable to making a difference in your own life. Look, you don't need to do anything for me. Mm-hmm. You're doing something for yourself. All you have is yourself. So on the live show, this is why I put you on, is I want you to make a commitment to the people out there that you're going to make a difference in your own life. That you're going to take some of the tools that you already have, clearly, because you know them, and you're going to get up and you're going to do something serious with yourself because you're a talented person. And if you were an idiot, I would have been like, look, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Like, you're not going to make anything of yourself. We shouldn't have this conversation. But you clearly
call me an idiot.
Well, no, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm Israeli, this is how I talk. But I'm saying, like, you're somebody that has something to offer. You went to school. You got your piece of paper. You used to write. And then somehow you became lazy. And
I've always been lazy.
Well,
I became demotivated.
So there you go. So I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm doing it on purpose, is because I want you to promise to the audience that you're going to make a serious effort to make the change.
This feels a lot like an intervention.
It's not intervention. Funny enough, we had like a guy who does intervention.
Yeah.
But it's not intervention. It's just me. And in reality, like, just say, hey, look, I'm not asking you to do anything for anybody else, but you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to make a difference. And the reality is, you already know what you're able to give. And yes, it's a live show. People are sitting there watching. Maybe there's 1 or 2 people. You know, people watch it on reruns. But yeah. I want you to let the people know that you're going to make an attempt. And in a month's time, I'm going to call you out and say, what did you do? Tell me the things you did in order to be able to better yourself.
You want me to try, or you want me to actually succeed?
No, I want you to succeed.
Oh, shit. Well, that's a different story.
Don't use the word try. Something we learned is do not use the word try. Do. Because when you try, you already give yourself that out.
I don't control everything.
You don't have to control. You already know you don't control everything. You control what you control. If you're telling me, Ron, I went out and saw 10 people and I failed, great, you saw 10 people. Tomorrow's another day, you'll go see 10 more people. Don't focus on the negative. There was a saying, something in the class that somebody said to me that kids ask the same question at least 15 times, even though the same answer is no, 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 no. And at some point, in like number 15, they might get somewhat their way. And we as adults ask maybe once or twice, and then we give up. So I hope that, and by the way, this is the reason that I brought you on the show, to give you something to do. So you're involved in this, and you're still being creative, and you still have your opinions. It might not be in front of the camera, it's behind the camera. But I'm hoping that after today, you're gonna take yourself more seriously, and you're gonna really do something with your talent, because I feel like it's a waste if you're not doing it. You're cheating the world from seeing your art. Or maybe I'm complimenting him a little too much.
That's fair.
Okay, can you make that? Can you tell the audience this?
I can definitely do better than I've been doing.
Does that sound like he really cares, Shazad? Does that sound like he really means
You're
it?
kind of putting me on the spot.
Yes, I am putting you on the spot. And by the way, that's what the course was all about. It's about making yourself accountable for yourself, and it's very important. Look, you're not doing it for me. To be quite honest, I go home, I don't think about you. I think about other stuff. But I really want you to succeed. So when you are with me, I really want you to do well. Okay, I'm not going to keep you on the spot, but you said your piece, but I really hope you keep it. And in a month's time, I'm going to ask you, say, what have you done differently? So we're just about to wrap up. Next week, we do not have a show, as we mentioned last week. The reason for that, I have a wedding, and of course, Ellie had a baby. Not me getting married, my best friend's getting married, so clearly, as the best man, the better man, he's just a groom. I'm the best man. So I'm not going to be around, and we're going to come back on, I believe, the 24th. Am I right, Shazan? Around, I think the 24th is a Sunday. We're going to have the Mom Joe. Guys, you have to tune in. That's going to be a big show. One of our biggest, because they have so many people watching their show and so much information. And to be quite honest, I'm not a parent, so I may not have a lot to offer. I'm just going to be asking a lot more questions. Ellie is going to be leading it. But it should be a phenomenal show. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. On behalf of myself, Shazad, and Sean, thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you on the 24th. Much love and good night.
Peace.